So the Master of Masters theme was released recently, a few weeks ago, and he's quite an interesting character, so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about his theme, because as we all know, the Master of Masters is shrouded in quite a lot of mystery. But I thought maybe his theme, whilst it is still quite mysterious itself, it might give some clues as to his true nature. At the very least, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of discuss it and how it may be reflective of his character as we've seen thus far and maybe with what's to come. Now, if you haven't listened to the Master of Masters theme song, I would highly advise you do. I mean, I'm sure most of you probably have by this point and that's why you're watching this, but just in case you haven't, you probably should give it a listen, just so you're familiar with the piece that I'm going to be discussing. But the first thing I want to do before we get into how it may reflect his character is let's actually just talk a bit about the piece itself. Now, I'm not a music expert by any means, I ain't studied music theory or anything like that, so I am 120% just playing this one by ear. I'm literally just going off of how it sounds to me and just what that seems to convey to me, just listening to it. The music itself certainly sounds like the anthem of a sort of mysterious, mad genius. I mean, parts of it sounds like it's ripped straight from Drakengard. The pianist certainly sounds like they were, I don't know, having a fit or something as they were playing on that piano. But there's also a fair amount of lightheartedness to the track as well, like a sort of calmer tone before it descends back into the harsher, more chaotic sound. And then after that more chaotic sound, it goes into something that sounds a bit more stable, a little smoother, a little bit more consistent. So it certainly has a bit of that sound of madness to it, you know, or whatever you might think madness sounds like. And perhaps a better way of describing it really would be sporadic. It's certainly not the sound of stability in those parts where the piano is just going off. Now when you compare it to like other Kingdom Hearts tracks as well in particular, it does stand out quite a fair amount, but that's not surprising given the character that it's associated with. Now I don't think the Master of Masters is this madman, crazy, psycho, serial killer, even though I wouldn't blame you for thinking so listening to some of this theme. But I think the sporadic nature is really just more reflective of the complexity of his character, especially how much more complex he is than I think a typical Kingdom Hearts character may be, especially the antagonist. I think he's probably, from what we've seen, he's being shown as potentially being one of the most complex characters in the entire series. And again, that's not too surprising considering he's being set up as a major character, potentially a major antagonist for the next phase of Kingdom Hearts. And from the tone of the track, it certainly doesn't sound like he's going to be on our side. You know, I mean, this just sounds like the theme of an antagonist, of an enemy. This sounds like the type of track that would play in a boss battle, you know, or just a bit before a boss battle is about to kick off. You know, it's just one of those things, you know, like this certainly fits the whole meme of why do I hear boss battle music? Like this is definitely that type of track. Maybe for the actual boss battle there'd be a slightly more aggressive rendition, but even just the regular theme I think would work for a boss battle quite well. Now there's something about one particular part of the song though that I wanted to speak about. See, this to me sounds like the lightest part of what is an otherwise quite heavy song. The notes on the piano are quite higher on that part as well, and it seems a lot more reminiscent of the type of theme you might usually expect to hear in Kingdom Hearts. But the way it mixes in with the harsher, lower notes is what makes this track quite dynamic and mysterious. The impression I was personally left with from this was that this is the theme of someone who has layers, who isn't clear cut. And everything we've seen of the Master of Masters so far has led many of us to that same conclusion. The reason so many of us are interested in knowing who he is, in understanding his motives, is because compared to not just the other antagonists of the Kingdom Hearts series, but also just the other characters in general, he is one of, if not the most elusive of them all. And mysterious characters that seem to know more than they let on are typically fan favourites in any franchise anyway. I think part of that is because it's easier for the audience to create their own headcanon and morph the character into whatever fantasy fits their preference. That can also lead to a lot of disappointment though when the time for reveals does come. And I've mentioned before that the Master's identity, if and when it's revealed, could potentially be a disappointment for many because of the expectations and the build-up. Many people are attached to their theories of what exactly is going to happen, and if those theories are not fulfilled, then the true answer would have to be better than what those people expected in order for it to remain satisfying to them, and that's a difficult task to pull off. And this is why in the video I did on the Master of Masters before, I mentioned that him being a new character or an established character, either one could be quite disappointing, and so I suggested that potentially him being sort of both at the same time would be the ideal way of avoiding that issue. If you want to know more of what I mean by that and you didn't see that video, then I would advise that you go and check it out. One thing that's for sure though is that the Master of Masters certainly knows a lot more than probably anyone else in the Kingdom Hearts universe, and his theme certainly seems to fit that type of person. The touches of kind of playful lightheartedness that are in the theme is also true to what we've seen of him as well. And that variance in character, those levels, those dimensions he has, is what makes him fascinating to many people. And that's what makes us question just what exactly is his purpose? What is his role? Now I'm still going with the idea that he has some sort of relation to the light, and that his name is likely reflective of that in some way. Maybe whatever this ancient war that he speaks of from when he was younger is, maybe that was a war between the light and darkness, and perhaps that was the original conflict between light and darkness, and that's what actually started this constant tug of war between the two that has never truly ended. And perhaps his goal is to finally put an end to that war that never really ended in the first place. And I'm gonna guess that Quadradum, the world on the other side, is somehow essential in helping him to achieve that goal. But regardless of whatever his goal is, I don't think any of us can deny that it's interesting trying to figure it out. And I have to say, my foresight is telling me that this next phase of Kingdom Hearts may contain some of the most interesting moments in the series. I've got a feeling that many years from now, we're going to be looking back at all this madness with the Master of Masters and think, man, remember all those crazy ideas we had about that dude? I mean, you know, we already do this already with older Kingdom Hearts games like Birth by Sleep. And so hopefully though, when we look back, it'll be fondly, because hopefully whatever this is all leading up to will be well and truly as great as we're hoping for it to be. But anyway guys, that's all I have to say for this particular video. It's not the longest video, it's not the craziest video, but I just wanted to discuss the Master of Masters theme because after listening to it a few times, it did make me think, this guy's theme sounds a little crazy. But I don't think he is actually crazy, he seems to be quite knowledgeable on what's going on. I just think the kind of crazy sporadic nature of the track is most likely just down to the fact that he does have quite a sporadic animated type of character, and also I think he has that type of character because he knows so much, and so I think he's just all over the place because the knowledge he has is all over the place and our understanding of him is all over the place. So I think the theme fits him perfectly, and it's certainly something I look forward to hearing in context in one of the future Kingdom Hearts games. I'm fully expecting that whenever we hear it play in the Kingdom Hearts game, it's going to be a crazy moment. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for listening this long. Please be sure to leave a like and leave your thoughts. What do you think of the Master's theme? Do you enjoy it? Do you think it sounds crazy? Do you think it's a good reflection of his character? What does it make you think? What do you think it says about him and what may be to come with his character, and maybe even for the story of Kingdom Hearts? Let me know in the comments below. And of course guys, remember I'm a small channel, so I appreciate all the support that you guys provide. So if you would like to see more content similar to this, then hit the subscribe button, and of course click the notification bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. But anyway, my name has been NextGenNovelist, that's all I've got to say, and I'm out. Peace.